find your tribe. And what I mean by that is find the people that surround yourself with the people that will support you. Surround yourself with people that feed your energy, that feed your soul, that believe in you. And stay away from people that drain your energy.
Welcome to the latest episode of Island Influencers. In this episode, Wendy Ranft-Gerber shares her life story from growing up in South Africa to finding a new home and a new calling on the Isle of Man. Wendy's story is one of adaptability, courage and deep compassion, spanning military service, a career in financial services and eventually following her passion into yoga teaching and cancer wellness coaching. Along the way, she discusses pivotal life moments, including travelling the world, navigating career pivots after redundancy, and how yoga and health coaching became powerful tools for personal healing and helping others, particularly those affected by cancer. The conversation also explores the journey of building a values-driven business on the Isle of Man, the power of staying open to unexpected opportunities, and the deep importance of community, self-belief, and purpose. So, here is Wendy Ranft-Gerber in episode 130 of Island Influencers. Enjoy. Welcome to Island Influencers. Thank you very much for coming along and agreeing to share your story with us today. I wonder if you'd mind, for the benefit of our listeners, to just tell us your story, really, and how you ended up in the Isle of Man with your wonderful little business.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. Thanks for having me today. I'm really looking forward to our little chat this morning. So how did we land up on the Isle of Man? Well, as you can hear,
Only a little bit.
Only a little bit. Good. Yeah, so from South Africa originally, and we've been on the Isle of Man now for, oh gosh, it was 24 years now this month, actually. Don't know where that time's gone. Mm-hmm. And we were kind of traveling through, I guess, in a nutshell. And
so which part of South Africa did you grow up in?
So I grew up in a place called Virginia, which is in the Free State. So it's in the middle of the country for your people that don't know exactly where the Free State is, because most people are familiar either with Cape Town or the Garden Route.
Yes.
Or perhaps some of the game reserves up north.
Yeah.
So the Free State is in the middle of the country. And so that's where I grew up. I was born there, went to school there. And then when I finished school, my dad retired and he decided he wanted to live in the Cape. And so we packed up and moved to the Cape, and that's when my dad retired.
Oh, right. So what age would you have been about then?
So I finished school at the age of 17. I matriculated. So it's basically the equivalent of an international baccalaureate that you have at King Bulls, for instance.
Yes.
That's the equivalent of that. And then moved to the Cape. And I think I've maybe been back to my hometown once, because all the family kind of moved away as well. So
really?
I'm the youngest of 5.
Yeah.
So we're quite a big family. 4 girls, 1 son. And so I have siblings all over the country. I've got siblings up in the north of the country. I've got siblings in the Cape. So everyone kind of took their own path. So moved to the Cape, and that's kind of what I call home now, really, because that's where I always go back to.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of took me on a journey, really, in terms of my career path.
Yeah, what did you do?
I always wanted to be a teacher when I was at school.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why, but I just love the idea of being able to stand up and teach somebody something new. I love that interaction, and to be honest, I actually loved school. I know not a lot of people say they loved school, but I really enjoyed school. So I think I was probably influenced by a few teachers as well along the way, that I really admired in terms of how they taught in the classroom and how they supported students in the classroom. So I always wanted to be a teacher, and I remember, I don't know if you have it, but when I went to school, we had career guidance.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was in well, you had one in primary school, which was standard 5, and I'm not sure what the equivalent of that is here. But to kind of start to think about when you go to high school, the kinds of subjects you might be interested in, to then look at your future career path. And then I had another one in high school, I think it was about standard 7, where you then start to really pick your subjects for the last 3 years of school. And I remember the career guidance counselor saying, yeah, there's no future in teaching. Don't think that's a good career path to go down. And yeah, as you did in those days, I guess my parents were like, well, the career guidance counselor said there's no future in teaching, so kind of have to think about something else. And when I finished school, I was like, well, what am I going to do now?
Oh my goodness, the responsibility on that person's shoulder to then tell you that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blessing and a curse, I guess.
Well, I guess so. But it...
Was he even right? He, she, were they even right? You don't know.
Well, I don't know, because I never had an opportunity to find out.
Gosh.
So I do think that, career guidance counselors and things like that have a lot to kind of answer for in terms of somebody's future, really.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
But also, your passion and what you really enjoy in life, and what things that you want to do that feed your soul. So I ended up not studying for a teacher, and then I was like, so what am I going to do? And my sister-in-law actually was in the military at the time, and she suggested, well, why don't you apply and go to the military?
The South African military.
The South African militaries.
How big is that outfit?
Massive.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Well, it was in those days.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's changed quite a lot now.
Right.
But back in those days, it was like, wow. And I was like, okay, I wasn't sure about that, but I filled out the forms, not thinking anything of it. And then I got called up for an interview, because you had this interview panel.
Yes, okay.
You had
it's a different kind of being called up, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you had to go through this whole selection board, academic and sports and all that kind of stuff. And the purpose of that was to kind of whittle down what they called the intake of the year, to go to the South African Army Women's College. So it was a South African Army Women's College specifically for women, based in George, beautiful part of the country. And I remember sitting in front of the interview panel, and I had 2 languages at school, English and Afrikaans.
Yes.
And one of the interviewers, he had asked me a question to answer in Afrikaans, and I just looked at him and I just went blank. Oh. And I was like, I couldn't speak a word of Afrikaans to him at all. And he just said to me, it's okay, Wendy, just answer the question in English. And I was like, well, that I can do. So, and then I came away from that thinking, there's no way. I can't even speak my second language, so there's no way I'm going to get in. But I did.
What, did they put you in the Air Force? Because they only speak English in
the Air Force and the Navy.
Right.
But no, I went to the military. So it was quite an interesting experience. But anyway, so I ended up staying. I actually loved my year doing. You do basic training for the first 6 months, and then you decide to specialize down a specific route. And so that's how I ended up in the military.
So just for a year. So was it like military service then, or?
So basically you do your training for a year, and then you can decide whether you want to stay on what they call the permanent force after that.
Yeah.
And
so it wasn't compulsory. It wasn't a compulsory service. It was
not compulsory service. It was purely voluntary.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we used to have national service in South Africa, and that ended. I think it was in '94.
Yeah.
National service came to an end. So I went to the military. Did my training for a year, loved it, and stayed for another 7. So I did 8 years in total.
Oh my goodness! So what did you get up to?
Well, now all sorts really. So our intake was the first intake that year. to do exactly the same training as the men.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a lot of weapon training. We did a lot of driving in massive vehicles. We were out in the field doing lots of field phases and that kind of stuff.
And where would the forces be deployed back then?
So back then you did a lot of urban, so in the cities,
right?
And you did a lot of integrated work with other agencies like the police services, for instance. You had the Army and the Navy and the Air Force working together on specific operations.
Right.
So...
And what sort of era are we talking about here?
So
we're not to put a stamp on your age or anything. But
no. So we're going back to the mid 90s, mid to late 90s.
Which is, I mean, Nelson Mandela was
94.
let out, wasn't he? And then apartheid came down. So that must have been an interesting time.
It was. But I guess for me, I never really... How do I put this? It was a thing in South Africa, but I don't feel I grew up with it, if that makes any sense. Because my parents were very... there wasn't any of that kind of talk in the house or that kind of thing. So I grew up in a very, what I thought was quite an integrated household. So for me, when that kind of all happened, it just all integrated into my life quite seamlessly. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So did you leave in 94? Or were you still in the army through then?
So I left. Gosh, when did I leave? I think it was 1999.
Yeah,
I left.
Right.
I say I left. I took unpaid leave at the time because my husband, who I'd met in the army actually.
Oh.
Which it was quite an interesting. That's another story, I guess, for another day. But yeah, him and I met in the army when we were doing our training towards the end of the year, and but before he had joined the army, he did a year. He finished, so he is a year older than I am. So he finished school a year earlier than I did, and he spent that year traveling America. And because he had family in America, so he traveled through America and loved it.
Yeah.
And he then came back, joined the army. Again, didn't quite know what to do, which is how he ended up in the army. It's funny how we all kind of end up there, not knowing what we're going to do next.
Must have the same careers teacher.
Yeah, well, there is that, but yeah. So that's where I met him, and he decided that the travel bug had caught him, and he wanted to do more traveling. I'd never left South Africa. I didn't know anything outside of South Africa.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. I want to travel. Let's give it a go.
Yep.
So I back in those days, I don't know if they still do it, but you could take unpaid leave, but it was a process to go through in the army to get that. Anyway, I did. I took 6 months unpaid leave, and we traveled.
It was brave.
Yeah, brave, but no, when you're young, I guess you go, oh, there's an opportunity, and you don't start.
And you don't have kids, and you don't have mortgages, and...
No. And it's kind of like, well, that's what life's about, isn't it? You just enjoy it and see what else is out there.
Yeah. Well, so many people don't, but yeah, I mean, great that you did.
Yeah.
So you ended up going to the UK?
So yes, we did a couple of months working holiday in the UK, travelled around, which was lovely.
Yeah.
I loved it. And then we went back and we were like, oh, we want to do more of this. There's so much out there.
You still had another 4 months, didn't you?
Yeah. So much out there to see and explore, and I guess we just wanted to change.
I'm curious what time of the year you went, though, it's usually quite nice in South Africa from what I know of the climate.
When did we go? Trying to think now. I think I remember us being in Scotland at a point, and it was freezing cold. So I think we went probably towards, so it would have been kind of our summer, winter here, the last 6 months of the year that we travelled.
Okay.
So we did experience a bit of UK winter, and then went back, Yes, because I remember us being back home that year for Christmas. And so we just decided we want to do more traveling and see a bit more of the world. And so
how did you end up here?
we ended up here because my husband's younger brother was on the Isle of Man at the time, and we had some friends over here as well. And we just thought, well, we'll come along and see what it's like, with no intention of staying at all. And the rest is history, as they say. We came.
That's 24 years ago.
That's 24 years ago.
Goodness me.
And time flies, because I hadn't even realized that. It was just when I was thinking about it earlier. How long have we been here? Oh gosh,
yeah,
that long.
So what did you do? Did you what was the career path for you when you got here?
We didn't really come with a career path in mind, to be fair. But we ended up doing a few kind of odd jobs on the island. So one of them, and when I share this with people, they're like, "Really?" I was like, "Yes." We worked on a farm, not far from where we stay now, actually.
Doing what?
Well, so I was working in the dairy, milking cows. I was helping lamb sheep.
The army prepares you for a lot of stuff, doesn't it? Eh?
It certainly makes you a very versatile person. So you're not afraid to get your hands dirty. But I remember coming home every night and having a shower, and I could not get the smell of dairy, that cow smell, out of my hair. It didn't matter how many times I washed my hair. I smelt like a proper farm girl. But I enjoyed it because it was something different. I'd never done it before. I never knew I'd be able to work on a farm. I mean, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good. It was good fun. And then we did that, and then we decided, no, actually, we really love it here. We'd made some really good friends by then. And so we ended up staying.
Yeah.
And then slowly got caught up in island life, as you do.
Yeah, financial services, I guess.
There you go, financial services. And we just love the Isle of Man. I mean, I always say to my husband, I always say to Leonard, we're actually really lucky here because we almost have the best of both worlds. We love the sea, we love the greenery, we love being outdoors. We even have a mountain on the Isle of Man. Nothing compared to Table Mountain, of course, but no. A mountain nonetheless. And then when we do go to South Africa, we have exactly that there, just in a different way. So a bit bigger.
Yeah.
So we're so grateful and so lucky to have both
really
worlds,
lovely.
Really.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And after a number of years in financial services, what made you decide to make the change to what you're currently doing? Were there any particular pivot moments for you?
Well, a few really. Some self-made, some not, I guess. So whilst I was still in financial services, I got into doing yoga. And I got into doing yoga because I was doing a lot of running at the time. And I just wanted to do stuff. I kind of felt I needed to do something where I could just go to a class and stretch. Because of the amount of running I was doing, I started picking up injuries. And the older you get, the more injury prone you are, especially if you've been doing a lot.
Where were you doing the running?
So just on the island,
doing on the promenade or something.
Yeah, so road running. Yeah, doing long distances and that kind of stuff as a way of, just. I love being outdoors. I love exercising. It's a good stress release. And anyway, so somebody said to me, well, why don't you come to a yoga class? And I thought, that's interesting. Anyway, I did. I ended up going to a yoga class and I loved it. And actually, I could see how it started benefiting me. Not just physically, but in other ways too, mind, body, spirit.
Yeah. What about breathing? Does it help that too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
amazing for breathing, really. And having done that for a while, I just loved it, and I kind of stuck with it. And then it was through a redundancy, actually, that I got into doing teacher training.
Okay, yeah, there's been quite a few mergers and acquisitions, hasn't there, in the life
Yes,
sector?
well,
Yeah.
yeah, and certainly in my career, I'd gone through 3 redundancies in total. So on the second redundancy, we were all given money to retrain in something. And at the time, Sammy, who used to own Karma Yoga Studios in Douglas, she was doing the teacher training. And I thought, well, this is very timely. And so I used my money and
Finally
given to do my teacher training. It's really strange how the world works and how these things come full circle. And yeah, I do believe that if you're meant to be on a path at some point in your life, that path, you'll be on that path. If that's what's meant for you, that's the path you'll be on at some point.
Definitely.
And yeah, so that's kind of how I got into teaching yoga. And yeah, the from a yoga perspective, I guess, that's kind of the rest is history. But then probably about, I think it was the end of 2020 or 2021.
Yeah.
I was then subject to another redundancy through an acquisition, quite a big acquisition on the Isle of Man. And I was like, right, this is an opportunity now for me to do something totally different. What can I do with my yoga? And it had been quite a busy year that year as we were going through the sale process. And actually quite a stressful year, to be honest, as well.
What were you doing in that? What sort of role were you?
So I was the head of internal comms,
right,
at that time, for the international business.
It must have been quite a difficult time, given the transition that the business was going through.
Very difficult time, very challenging time, and being part of that team, part of the executive team, having to ensure that all the communications were open and transparent, and making sure everybody felt supported through that whole process. It was, looking back now, it was a very busy year, brought with it lots of challenges. And at the end of it, I just thought, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to do something different. And I'd had enough of financial services in the best possible way at that stage, because I have, through the years, all the roles I've done, I've really enjoyed what I've done. I've met some really inspiring people, and I love people. It's just something that I do. So yeah, work is one thing, but the people, I always think, make a difference.
Definitely.
Irrespective of whatever your job is. And so it was through that redundancy that I decided I wanted to make a change.
Anything else happened to you?
Yeah, and then towards the end of the year, as I was kind of coming to the acquisition was coming to an end, I'd kept seeing this advert in one of my yoga magazines, and it was the College of Naturopathic Medicine advertising for a health coach diploma course. And I'd seen it, I think I'd seen it in the July issue, and I just put it to one side because we were like slap bang in the middle of that acquisition, and I didn't think anything of it. And then I saw it again in the October issue, and I was like, okay, this is now the second time I've seen this advert. And they were advertising an online open day. And I went, logged on, registered for the online open day, logged on, listened to what they had to say. I think it was 2 hours on a Zoom. And I was like, I think I want to do this. And I hadn't yet made that final decision. It was just like, I think I want to do this. And I hadn't expected the redundancy. So when the redundancy came, I was like, this is what I'm going to do now. And I did. I registered for the course. And I think I finished working on it at the end of Feb the following year, and I just threw myself into my studies straight into that. And the course, which you normally do 2 years part-time, I just did it full-time and got myself qualified as a health coach.
Oh, well done.
So yeah, and I was like, right, okay, we can bring the health coaching and the yoga together.
That's what you did.
And that's what I did.
Yeah. So what's your business called?
So my business is called Health and Balance.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of wanted to keep it quite broad in the sense that I guess well-being is all about health, but it's also about balancing everything else out in our lives. And we know our health is so important to us. It's something that we can control. And yeah, I wanted to kind of bring it in a way that can incorporate the yoga, I guess, as well, which is where the balance bit came in. So yeah.
But I also note that you've done some specific training for through the Cancer Wellness Institute. When was that?
Yeah, so I'd finished doing my health coaching diploma. At the end of that year, I'd registered my business, set it up, and then I was like, okay, do I go into a niche straight away, or do I just see how the year goes? And it was during that time that I had a few friends diagnosed with cancer. And one of my friends in particular, her mum was diagnosed with cancer, and she had asked if I could help with the caring side. And
that must have been hard.
It was, but I just felt there wasn't a question of whether I would do it or not. I had the time to do it, so why would I not? I guess.
Yeah.
It was like there's no doubt I would help somebody. That's just how I am. If I'm able to help somebody, I will absolutely help them. And so that's what I did. I picked her up, took her to appointments, did shopping for her, and yeah, it just, I guess, opened my eyes a little bit in terms of what somebody who's been diagnosed with cancer is going through, but also gaps in terms of support out there for people. And so I did that, and then this course had come up through the UK and International Health Coaching Association, which is the registered body for health coaches.
And could you see an immediate crossover there, a pathway to help?
Yes. And I signed up, I did that, and it just opened another world for me in terms of the cancer side and people diagnosed with cancer, but not just people diagnosed with cancer, but also everyone affected by it, whether it's the person diagnosed with cancer or it's their family and friends.
Yeah, sure.
And so yeah, and that's how I started out on that path. And I'd also lost friends through cancer, and again seeing what they'd gone through, where the support starts and where the support ends, and what the gaps there are. So yeah, it was a very interesting year for me, really.
2022 sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of change, I guess, when I look back on it now.
Yeah, sure.
Coming from a corporate environment, having been in that space for such a long time, then leaving that space, studying, and then, that kind of pivotal moment, I guess, that has, in a way, determined or kind of pathed my journey for me in terms of where I'm going to go with my business. I didn't set out to work in the cancer space. It's just because I knew people that had been affected by it, that it opened up another way of thinking for me, going, actually, there's something here. Let me explore that a bit and see what it brings. And so I did. And then I had a friend who was diagnosed with breast cancer, and after she'd gone through her treatment, came to me and said, oh, I want to start moving again. Can you help me with some yoga? And she'd be going for her physio, and the physio had given her what she needed to do. And I was like, yeah, sure, we can do some yoga together. That's not a problem. And then as I started working with her and noticing the restrictions that she had, and I was like, oh yeah, but some of this traditional yoga stuff that we do isn't going to work here. And did a bit of research, and then I found the Yoga for Cancer Academy in the UK.
Gosh,
who knew?
Oh, absolutely, who knew?
Well,
I guess it's so many people you hear about with cancer diagnosis. It's
1 in 2, which is a scary number.
Sure is.
Yeah,
sure is.
So I did my training with the Yoga for Cancer Academy, and I was like, okay, traditional yoga, when you're working with somebody that's been through treatment or coming out of treatment, is not the same. There is definitely a difference here. And so that's how my Yoga for Cancer kind of developed. Again, not a path I set out to take, but because somebody came to me for help, and me wanting to help them in a way that would work for them and in the right way, it opened up another area for further education.
Sounds like a bit of a history with you. It just, but hats off for being so adaptable and being told that you couldn't do this, but wonderful. I don't know anybody else who's gone from the army to farming to financial services to yoga to cancer treatment. Well, cancer yoga. It's quite unique.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I never thought of it that way, but now that you put it that way, actually, yes.
Oh dear.
And I still think I'm quite young as well.
Yeah, you are.
So when you put it that way, like reflecting back on it, I think actually, that sounds like quite an interesting life.
I think it speaks to adaptability, flexibility, all the things that you need to be successful in a modern world. Like I say, hats off.
Thank you.
Well, okay, if you don't mind me asking, then my long history of being doing the same thing as a financial planner, what's your earliest memory of money? What was money for you like growing up in South Africa?
For me, really, I think I mentioned earlier I was the youngest of 5 kids. So quite a big family. Back in those days, it was quite a big family. Maybe not so much in today's world, but
it's still a big family.
I think anything bigger than 2 is a big family. But so 5 kids, and my dad. I don't remember ever wanting anything, but my dad had a philosophy of you get what you need as opposed to you get what you want.
Yeah, what did he do?
So my dad worked on, we lived in a mining community.
Right.
So he was what they call a foreman in the mine. So he was quite high up. But he also worked, him and my mum, they were in the Red Cross.
Right.
In South Africa. And they did. My dad was the head of the Red Cross in the region that we stayed.
Okay.
So they did a lot of volunteering for the Red Cross as well. And I remember growing up with ambulances in our driveway because my dad used to have the ambulance in the driveway, and do a lot of like road running things where they used to go out and kind of do volunteering and that kind of stuff. So, coming back to the financial side of things, so that's what my dad did. And he always said, I remember him saying to us growing up, you should never have debt. Debt is the worst thing you can have. If you can't pay for something cash, save for it or don't have it at all. So no credit cards or anything like that.
Yeah. But testament to you, you had 6 months unpaid leave and you were able to take your redundancy and stop and do what you wanted to do and retrain. It sounds to me as though there's been some good discipline there of having the skill set to be able to have the peace of mind to afford it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't just stop work if you don't have an income unless you've saved for it.
Yeah.
This was my point.
Yeah. And actually, my husband and I talk about this now. In my whole life, I've never asked my parents for money. You know, even when I was first starting out, and we needed something, we would save for it, or we would not have it, because I always felt, but my parents have given everything they can for me. I'm a grown up now. I'm earning my own money. I need to be able to manage my own money. It's not their responsibility to manage my finances. It's mine.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've never asked my parents for money. I saved for my first car, which I bought brand new.
Wow.
Back in those days.
So mine was a
army
beat up
check.
second, third, fifth hand thing. Yeah.
So yeah, so I guess my parents installed from a financial perspective those, save for what you want if you want it. Don't put things on debt. But also at school growing up, I had a lot of wealthy friends. And there were times that, they had things that I would have liked that my parents couldn't afford, but it's just, that's just life. It's not that I, had any, oh, but you can't afford this and so-and-so's got that and, that kind of mentality. It was, in our house, there was no debate.
No. So how did that make you feel though? Interesting, the emotion that, if you see people who want things, sort of envy and jealousy is a common theme in today's society. But I'm just interested, given your parents' kind of altruistic, I have a picture in my mind of a Red Cross ambulance on your drive, I wonder if that influenced how you felt, which was, I don't know, not envy and that sort of thing.
It didn't bother me.
Yeah.
It was just a case of, I get it, I understand it. They can't afford it, and that's okay. There wasn't any of that, kind of, well, I want this and you need to give it to me kind of thinking, because it just wasn't.
Yeah, no.
It was just wasn't tolerated.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, isn't it? Well, it leads quite neatly onto then, okay, what does being rich or wealthy mean for you?
Yeah. I guess there is a monetary element there, but for me, it goes beyond that. Yes, we need money to live, but you can choose what that looks like to you. You can choose to have, a fancy car and a big house and nice clothes and all that kind of stuff. That we all have choices, and if that's, the choice you make for yourself, then that all costs money. So then you choose to work harder or whatever, you need to do to get and to maintain that standard of living. So for me, it goes a bit wider than that. For me, it's about being healthy. It's about being happy, but it's also about being true to you. And it's easy to get caught up in that rat race and the social circles of wealth and money and lovely things, and it's so easy to be caught up in that. And I understand how people do get caught up in that. But yeah, I just think there's more to life than that. There's more to wealth than money. Health, your health for me is the most important thing, and I don't
wealth
exactly, and I don't mean diet and nutrition. I mean the whole bit, the holistic piece of health. So, diet, your body, your mind, your spirit, the environment around us. For me, that's what encompasses.
Yeah, brilliant. It's a great
wealth
answer.
For me.
Good answer.
Yeah.
So, of all the things you've done so far, what's given you the most fulfillment?
Well, there've been a few things. One of the things was traveling to India just before lockdown. My best friend and I, Christine, we'd been talking about doing a trip to India for a while. And anyway, we planned our trip, and we decided that we wanted to experience the authentic India. So we didn't do it through a travel agent. And we just planned the trip ourselves. I have a friend, Viju, who's from India, and she helped us to plan our trip. And Christine and I, Christine flew from Cape Town, I flew from London, and we met in Delhi. And we spent 3 weeks traveling India. We did the Golden Triangle together.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing experience. I loved India.
Oh, nice. Anything else that was fulfilling for you?
Yeah. So the India bit was amazing because we just met so many great people, and it's just an amazing country. And then more recent, I guess, is that my business really, and how the space, I guess, I've created for people, and the environment I've created to support them on their cancer journey has made such a difference.
Oh, wonderful. And where is that? Is there a specific, do you do it online, or is it in your home, or do you go to people? Or?
So at the classes at the moment, I do at studios on the island.
Okay.
So I do a Douglas class at Space Yoga Studio. That's on a Tuesday morning. I do an NSC class on a Wednesday morning. And then I started a class up north in Ramsey at Suzanne Young's studio on a Friday evening. And then, so I do studio classes. I keep them quite small as well for the Yoga for Cancer. But then I can do one-to-one, so I can go to people's homes and do one-to-ones that way. And then the coaching side, I do either at home, or I go to where people feel most comfortable, really. So it's quite nice because it gives me that flexibility. And with both the yoga and the coaching side, I mean, that's something you can do online as well. So I've done some online coaching.
Yeah, I'm sure we're all pretty good at Zoom these days, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. I guess you've learned quite a lot from starting your own business. What would be your number one tip for anybody who's aspiring to do this sort of thing? You know, whether they be an organization leader even, or an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think for me, starting your own business is quite interesting because it brings a whole lot of different challenges, but also opportunities. And I think for me, I would say to somebody, find your tribe. And what I mean by that is find the people surround yourself with the people that will support you. Surround yourself with people that feed your energy, that feed your soul, that believe in you. And stay away from people that drain your energy. I call them energy givers and energy takers.
Oh, I was just what you just said there. It came to mind. Somebody said to me, "You surround yourself with people who are radiators, not drains."
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and that's what I would say to somebody. Find those people that really fill you. They feed your soul. They fill you with energy. That aren't those energy thieves.
Yeah.
And those naysayers.
Yeah, 100%. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self, well, in your case, 17-year-old, who just had your bubble burst by that career's advisor, what advice would you give yourself then?
Well, firstly, life's too short.
Yeah, I know it's pointless, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, life is too short.
I mean, going back and giving you the past. That's what I mean. It's not pointless at all.
Yeah. So firstly, life's too short, and do what you love. And irrespective of what anybody says to you, you can't be all things to all people. So just be you. Find your passion, find what you love, and just live true to you. That's what I would say to myself. Kind of just
good advice.
Yeah.
And what do you do to relax and keep your life in balance? Given that you're a yoga instructor, that must be pretty relaxing. But what else do you do?
I love being outdoors.
Yeah.
Anything outdoors is relaxing.
No matter what the weather.
No matter what the weather. We've got 2 border collies, Sharon, both rescue dogs, and they're not bothered by the weather. They just need the exercise. So yeah, we're all weather people.
Very good. Very good.
So yeah, getting out in nature, walking, love running, reading, just just enjoying the island, really. I was having a conversation with my personal trainer on Monday, and
Yeah, well, that's how we met.
that's how we met.
Yeah, on the treadmill next door to each other up at Elite. Yeah.
In between sessions, you're finishing and me starting, or vice versa.
Yes. Yeah.
And June was saying to me, "Oh, do you ever go out walking with your? Do you ever listen to podcasts?" Is what he said to me, and I said to him, "Yeah, every now and again." He's like, "Don't you go out walking with earphones in, listening to podcasts?" I was like, "No, I never go exercising with things in my ears ever. I just want to be in nature because I'm surrounded by noise every day. When I'm out in nature, I want to be listening to the birds and really taking in, being mindful and being in the moment.
Yeah.
And just enjoying what I have around me."
You've given me an idea, actually. Perhaps I should invest some time into learning how to use the mobile gear I've got and actually record a podcast on a walk, because you get all the sounds of nature then, wouldn't you?
Perfect.
Depending on where you went.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into doing that.
And there's loads of places like that on the Isle of Man, so you won't be short for space and ideas.
No, just breath.
Just breath, yeah. But we can work on that.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, yeah, good one. And what about your favourite trip that you've ever taken? Would it be India?
It would be the India trip. Yeah.
Oh, no,
It's
good.
what a amazing country, and full of contrasts and contradictions. So I'll just share a story with you, if I may. But Christine and I, we went to our first visit to one of the temples in India, and we were standing outside and having a look, and they were in prayer. So the temple was closed, so for the public to go in, because they were having their prayer hour, and I noticed all these branded shoes outside the door. Like your Nike and your Adidas and all those. There are other brands out there. I just can't remember all of them, but your branded shoes. And I said to Christine, I was like, it's very odd, because there's no civil, the public isn't in the temple. And anyway, we walked around, and after the prayers were finished, the monks came out and they were putting on their shoes, and it was all their shoes. So I was just like, this is very strange. You don't associate them with, I guess, branded stuff or materialistic things like, your Adidas and all the branded gear that you get.
So I guess they like comfortable walking.
I guess they like comfortable walking. So that was quite interesting. And then whilst we were out there, we were up in Dar es Salaam, and we booked ourselves into a yoga retreat for a week.
Yeah.
And we were walking to McLeod Ganj, which was about a 20-30 minute walk from the retreat itself into the town. And on our way back, we'd passed two Buddhist monks, and couldn't speak a word of English, and obviously we couldn't speak their language either. And somehow we managed to communicate with each other. Somehow, I don't know, but we did. And they had invited us to walk with them. So we walked with them, and they wanted to buy us a drink, a chai. So we walked with them to a coffee shop, sat down, and they bought us a chai. And the one monk pulled out his Nikon camera and was like showing us all these photos, which was amazing. And the next thing, this monk pulls out his laptop, and he's showing us photos of places he's traveled. And I just thought to myself, this is just amazing.
What a country of contradictions, eh?
Yeah, and I was just like, oh my word, of all the places. So yes, India, I just loved. It was, as I say, lots of contradictions, contrasts, the difference, the class system there, the difference between the rich and the poor. It was such a humbling experience.
Yeah.
So humbling, but loved it.
And moving on to the Isle of Man, what are the best things about living here?
Loads.
You have mentioned a few.
I have mentioned a few.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely nature. I mean, we're so lucky to have what we have on our doorstep. it's just a beautiful place.
And what about moving from South Africa? Do you find more, I don't know, a greater sense of security here, or?
It's a greater sense of freedom, I guess. I would say, in the sense that, I feel relatively, I do feel safe here. I can come and go about my daily business without, having to be aware of what's going on around me. So I'd say it's a very secure place. And yeah, I mean, when we go back to South Africa, we automatically lock the doors, don't open the windows, have the aircon on in the car. We'd put everything in the boot of the car. We wouldn't have anything, in the front of the car, because that's just what you do.
Have you ever been carjacked or anything like that?
No, we've been broken in twice when we lived out there.
Yeah.
I have had family that have been held at gunpoint on 2 occasions in South Africa. Yeah, so it's the Isle of Man is in comparison is very safe.
Yeah,
and you have that sense of freedom. Yeah, and there's so many opportunities for people on the island as well. And it's what you make of them.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
you just
it's
have
important to know that.
Yeah, there's loads of opportunities, and I do think it's what you make of what you've got.
And what about challenges though?
Well, yeah, like any place, the Isle of Man has its challenges. I'd say, if we're thinking about kind of what's going on at the moment, some of the financial challenges within government and also within our health service.
Yeah.
So, that's...
You can probably speak to that better than many people.
That's quite challenging, and in a way it is a bit worrying in terms of what that's going to look like in terms of our future as an island.
Yeah, I noticed in the UK the NHS is creating roles for registered health coaches, aren't they? Is there anything like that here?
Yeah, not that I've seen or heard or come across. And I think there's a real opportunity for us to make a difference in that space by getting health coaches into Manx Care to support and work alongside your GPs.
Sure. And what sort of benefits would you gain from that aspect?
Well, firstly, you kind of helping to empower people really to take control of their own health and moving away from a culture of where you go to the doctor and you receive medication.
Treating the cause, not the symptom.
Exactly. Treating the cause, not the symptom. And actually creating that time and space to support somebody to make those changes. Because a lot of them, I guess, are based around behavior changes as well. And I do think we all play a role in taking control of our own health. It's easy to sit on the outside and criticize what's going on in the system. But I do think if there's an integrated approach to healthcare and we're creating the support mechanism within the healthcare system to help people move into health creation and creating health for themselves for the longer term, then there's got to be some mileage there.
Have you got any ideas about how you might achieve that?
Well, in an ideal world, it'd be lovely to sit around the table, wouldn't it, with the powers that be in the health services. And
you mentioned in some of the information that you provided to me that you've started, for example, being a volunteer for Macmillan Cancer Support, and a wonderful organisation like and Hospice Isle of Man. They're wonderful. Supportive organisations already there. I wonder if there's any mileage in collaborating with companies like those.
Absolutely. And I've got a good relationship with Macmillan. I reached out to them actually at the end of the year that I qualified, and went up to the hospital. Walked through the hospital doors. Went to see the breast clinic unit. Stopped at
It's impressive, isn't it?
Stopped at Macmillan and said, "This is who I am.
Yeah.
This is what I have to offer. I'd love to do more work in the space, and how can I support people going through the cancer journey. And it's interesting because and since then I've been in touch with lots of charities. Sandy Denning at Isle of Man Anti-Cancer, and Hospice, met with John Knight as well, and I keep in touch with all of them.
Yeah, there's some wonderful people there, aren't there?
Amazing people.
Yeah.
And I think they all face the same challenges in terms of funding, and that kind of thing. But I started doing some volunteer training up at Macmillan because I just think that they offer such an amazing service, because it's not just people who have cancer, but it's everyone affected by cancer, irrespective of the type of cancer you have. So whether you have breast cancer, whether you have colon cancer, whether you have brain cancer, they support everybody. And my business is about supporting everyone. It's not just about supporting somebody with one type of cancer.
Sure. I
want to be able to reach as many people as I can.
I guess you have similar emotional responses to a cancer diagnosis, whatever sort it is.
And everyone responds to that differently.
Yeah.
You know, no one response is the same. No one cancer journey or pathway is the same. You know, if someone's diagnosed with breast cancer, that their breast cancer diagnosis will be different to somebody else's breast cancer diagnosis. We're all unique. And for me, it's about that. It's about that people-centered approach in healthcare. And it is about moving people from a passive healthcare mind thought to this proactive health creation. And I think by working with organizations like Macmillan, like Isle of Man Anti-Cancer, like the Hospice, you know, there's opportunity to be able to do that. So I enjoy the Macmillan side of things. I've started doing training with them now on a Wednesday afternoon. There's a few of us that have signed up for their volunteering, so we're busy doing training at the moment.
Fantastic.
So that's nice. And again, it's a mixture of people doing that training. So there's some people that have had cancer, some people that are still on that cancer journey. So it's interesting to listen to stories and people's journeys and pathways.
No, very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if it's okay, let's move on to the more light-hearted questions just to finish off our recording today. But so, are there any books that you've read or podcasts that you've listened to recently that you would recommend to our listeners as a source of inspiration or self-development, or just a relaxing time?
Yeah, so quite a few. I know when I got these questions through, it's like, oh, Sharon's only asked me for 3, but I've got so many I can think of. But I'm currently reading a book by Dr. Ranjan Chatterjee. I think I pronounced that correctly.
Well, that's okay. You can send us a link and we'll put it in the show notes. So
yeah.
And so what's that called?
It's called Make Change That Lasts. It's his latest book that's come out, and
he's got a podcast too.
Yeah, he has. He's got a podcast with loads of episodes. And when I was doing my training through the College of Naturopathic Medicine, I came across him, and he's a GP. For those listeners who may not know who he is, but he is a GP, but he is also incorporates the holistic approach.
Right.
So he's got the medical side.
Interesting.
And he brings the holistic side into it and looks at how they complement and can work to support each other.
Fascinating.
Which is extremely fascinating.
Yeah.
So I'm reading his book, and his podcasts are amazing as well. And then, a few other books. One book called The Best of Friends by Sarah James and Ginger Morney is another good book. Some light reading. I've just finished reading a book called The Half Bird by Suzanne Smiley, and another book which I found quite inspirational, actually, a story about a mother and her daughter who took themselves off to the Antarctic, a book called Frigid Woman by Sue and Victoria Riches. So
good.
That's quite an inspirational read.
Great, it's a good mix there.
Yeah.
So, some decent book club
recommendations. Yeah, because I'm studying at the moment, and I'm reading a lot of kind of not heavy stuff, but can be quite heavy and academic.
Yeah.
Around specific subjects. So a bit of light reading just to break that up is good.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so got three movies.
Oh,
favorite movies.
Three movies. Okay, favorite movies. So I'm going to go for first one, Out of Africa. I just think it's so iconic.
Oh, it certainly is.
Robert Redford and Meryl Streep. And also it always pulls at my heartstrings every time I watch that.
Yeah.
One I've just watched, actually. It's called The 6888.
Oh, that's a new movie.
It is a new movie.
Yes, I must watch that.
Yeah, it's really good. It's about a group of women, 855 they call them, I think.
Yeah, where's that? It's on Prime or something.
I think it's Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah. So during World War II, they were part of the forces. They were called the 855. They basically fixed a 3-year backlog of unfulfilled mail.
I've seen the trailer for that.
It's amazing.
Yeah, great.
So definitely one to watch.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go for Eat, Pray, Love. Only because
Julia Roberts.
I do love Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
She
and
is.
It really speaks. I found for me that movie really spoke to me about finding your true self and just experiencing life.
Again, definitely.
Great. There's a book out as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, an Eat, Pray, Love book. So.
All right. And who inspires you?
Lots of people. So have to mention my husband Leonard, because I'd be rude not to. But yeah, he's amazing. So supportive as well. And yeah, we've been together for 28 years. So yeah, very inspiring, very supportive. Definitely my friends, my clients. I've had so many amazing clients the last 2 years, and they've taught me so much, and they've shared so much with me. And it's I'm so grateful. It's very humbling as well. Definitely my teachers. I'm not necessarily my career guidance teacher.
No, I think I got that. I think I got that.
But definitely teachers that have come along my path. So from a business perspective, through the courses I've done, one in particular, Dr. Rosie Daniel, who I'm busy doing her mentoring program with at the moment. She runs a company called Health Creation. She's just amazing. Again, a GP by trade, and has brought the holistic approach to healthcare into what she offers and delivers. And she's done work with Penny Bron and Pat Pilkington in the cancer space. So she's just an amazing lady. And then finally, it'd be rude for me not to mention my parents. Unfortunately, I don't have any of them with me anymore, in terms of they've both passed away now. My dad 12 years ago this month, and my mom passed away in October last year. But they all have qualities and life stories that really inspire me every day. So it's lots of people
not forgotten.
No, yeah.
Okay. And what about your favourite quote? Have you got a favourite quote?
Yeah, so I quite like, I don't know if you're familiar with an author and a podcaster, actually, a lady by the name of Mel Robbins. So she's got a favourite quote at the moment called Let Them. And basically, the theory behind this is about the importance of letting others be who they are, and accepting situations as they unfold, and redirecting focus to what's within your power. So again, just taking back and accepting.
What you can control and what you can't control.
Exactly.
Yeah, knowing the difference.
Yeah. And it's quite, if you find yourself in a situation where you're starting to get frustrated, or you're questioning things or somebody's actions, we're all drawn into those from time to time. We're human, and it's quite freeing, I find, when you just take a step back, have a breath, and go, well, let them.
Yeah, cool. Very, very, very wise. Thank you for that one. I shall think of that. Okay, very good. And finally, where can people go to find out more about you and the work you're doing? Website, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I have a website at www.healthandbalanceiom.com.
Okay, we'll put that in the show notes. And
I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and I'm also on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. We've put all those in the show notes. Wendy, that's been lovely. I've so appreciated you coming along and sharing your interesting, fascinating journey. I look forward to hearing great things about you in the future. So thank you.
Thanks for having me, Sharon. It's been a good morning. Thank you.